Well, we begin tonight with a developing story out of Russia. The anti-secrets website Wiki-leaks has now released a letter that was allegedly written by Edward Snowden. Here's part of that letter. The Obama administration has now adopted the strategy of using citizenship as a weapon. Although I am convicted of nothing, it has unilaterally revoked my passport, leaving me a stateless person. Without any judicial order, the administration now seeks to stop me exercising a basic right, a right that belongs to everybody, the right to seek asylum. Meanwhile, earlier today, we found out that an anonymous Russian official told the LA Times that Snowden has now filed for asylum in no fewer than 15 countries. For reaction on the letter and the latest in the Snowden saga, I was joined earlier by RT political commentator Sam Sachs and Abby Martin, host of Breaking the Set. And I started off by asking Sam if there was any proof that this letter was in fact genuine. Take a look.
Well, it seems like it is. Reuters is coming out with another corresponding statement that Snowden sent to the Ecuadorian embassy. WikiLeaks has been the point person for Snowden since he left Hong Kong. I mean, we found out he was heading to Moscow with plans to seek asylum elsewhere through statements made by WikiLeaks. So I don't think it's strange that WikiLeaks is releasing his statement now about this. And I think it's about time that Snowden does make a statement. I mean, there have been a lot of questions as to what exactly is going on over the last 8 days, whether or not this was the plan all along was to take a flight from Hong Kong to Moscow and then just kind of wait there and find out where you're going to go, or whether there was some plan ahead of time. So a lot of people wanted to hear from Snowden. Julian Assange has come out and said that he's okay. So now we have Snowden's own words kind of saying he's okay.
And Abby, I want to turn to you. This letter obviously just came out a very short time ago. What are your initial reactions from reading through it?
It's just really sad. It's a tragic state of affairs. I mean, here's Edward Snowden saying, I can't go anywhere because my own country has made me a stateless person. This is a right. This is a human right, absolutely declared in Article 14 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, to seek asylum. And the fact that President Obama has demanded his passport to be revoked, he's pressuring leaders of other countries to not grant him asylum. I mean, what country are we living in here? This is trumping a Universal Declaration of Human Rights that everyone should have on the entire planet. We've had no problem taking in political prisoners or political dissidents from other countries who actually have been charged with crimes. So it's an utter disgrace.
And it is interesting to point out that there has been no extradition treaty between Russia and the U.S., and there currently is none. Now, Sam, we do know today that, according to an anonymous Russian official, that Edward Snowden has filed for asylum in no fewer than 15 countries. Is there any indication right now as to what those countries are, what the possible asylum processes are, if he has to be on soil in order to get that type of asylum, anything like that?
Yeah, we don't know what countries he's applied to. We could imagine he's applied to Ecuador and certain other countries that seem to be willing to take on free speech activists, whistleblowers, and also countries that might just be okay with thumbing an eye in the United States. Look, some of Snowden's most recent leaks have been given to countries that have been exposed to this sort of illegal surveillance. Der Spiegel in Germany ran the article from Snowden's documents that talked about how Germany is one of the most frequently used sites for the PRISM program, for the NSA's PRISM program, and how we've been spying on the European Union. Look, if he wants to, there's been conflicting reports of whether or not he's applied for asylum in Russia. Putin today said that, he could stay in Russia, but he has to stop embarrassing, his U.S. partners. And of course, Snowden's statement to Ecuador said he does continue planning to release more documents. So that doesn't seem to quite jive with any asylum hopes, at least there.
And we'll get to that letter in just a minute. But also another thing to point out is before Edward Snowden actually went to Moscow, he was thinking about applying, as far as we know, to countries like Venezuela, to Cuba, to places that have been not so warm and friendly with the United States. Now, Abby, talk about this concept of shopping for countries in order to get that asylum bid that he's so desperately looking for.
I mean, really, what are his options? This is really all he can do at this point. I mean, he's in a transit center, international airport. I mean, he has to apply to as many countries as he possibly can. Whether or not these countries are going to grant him asylum is a different story. It's really a big, like Sam just said, I mean, you're basically defying the largest empire in the world that could really go after you if you make this bold move. But really, he has no other choice right now. He has to do this. And I don't know. I mean, his options look bleak right now, but I would shop for countries. If I were him, I'd shop for as many countries as I could.
And to be honest, the United States has, yes, they've done all, repealing his passport, pressuring other countries to deny him asylum, but the United States has complicated their own efforts to try and get Snowden by charging him with espionage. A lot of these extradition treaties that countries like Ecuador and Venezuela and other countries have with the United States include crimes that would be appropriate for extradition, but espionage is not on there. That's considered a political crime, and that doesn't jive with a lot of these extradition treaties. So what the United States is asking these countries to make sure they hand over Snowden, they probably shouldn't be charging him with things that the country would be more reluctant to hand him over with.
And Sam, piggybacking off of the letter section that I had read earlier, let's talk about revoking a person's passport. Yes or no, does that stop a person from getting asylum?
I mean, it makes it almost impossible for him to travel anywhere, but there's no Interpol warrant out, so he can pretty much go places where he trusts. And he mentioned that in his statement, that by flying to Moscow and knowing what was going on, he was basically putting a lot of faith in a lot of strangers to protect him. And that's kind of how he has to live throughout now, because there are a lot of countries that he can't fly into now. And I mean, who knows how much longer he will be given this sort of temporary asylum in countries like Russia or Ecuador or Cuba.
And Abby, I want to read another part of the letter. It says, quote, "In the end, the Obama administration is not afraid of whistleblowers like me, Bradley Manning, or Thomas Drake. We are stateless, imprisoned, or powerless. No, the Obama administration is afraid of you. It is afraid of an informed, angry public demanding the constitutional government it was promised, and it should be." Abby, your thoughts?
Well, it's obvious to anyone who looks into this program, the insane spying grid that Snowden has shed some light on, that this is not about terrorism. This is about keeping all of the citizens in this country in a giant data mining grid to control us and to keep tabs on us. I mean, the needle in a haystack theory has already been debunked by this government, who have said in internal documents that it's actually deterred them from catching terrorists, from learning about warnings about the Tsarnaev brothers, etc. So you cannot say that expanding surveillance will actually be better to catch terrorists. No, this is about controlling society, keeping everyone under the thumb of the government, tracking everyone, keeping everyone into a chilling effect in an already ice-cold environment for dissent and political dissidents.
And it's about making an example out of Snowden. And that's what Snowden's referring to in his statement. This idea, such harsh charges, they've also been used against Bradley Manning, they've been used against Thomas Drake, John Kiriakou. It's not to punish these people, but it's to make people after them afraid. And so far it hasn't worked, because whatever's been done to Thomas Drake didn't stop Bradley Manning, which didn't stop now Edward Snowden.
Very interesting. We also know that Edward Snowden allegedly sent out a letter to Ecuador thanking them for helping him get into Moscow, also saying that he wanted to be free because he wants to have the ability to release documents in the future. Breaking the Set host Abby Martin and Sam Sachs, political commentator, thank you so much for weighing in.